So, this year PAX was memorable. I think that's the best way to call it. It's definitely very different than previous years for many different reasons. Obviously, we are still in a global COVID pandemic, but PAX West wasn't the only convention that was going on this weekend. There are many events still coming back. In fact, DragonCon was going on at the same time in Georgia this past weekend. So why are all these conventions coming back? While I don't know for sure, my biggest guess is money. For many events, if the state doesn't declare a state of emergency or some kind of policy that prevents them from hosting events, then they technically can host the event. So there's no way for them to cancel it. They will have to pay the full cost for how much they spend for renting the convention center, from hiring staff. So they would have to pay that full amount without any way to recoup it if they do not run the event. And most of the time, insurance wouldn't cover it too if they cancel the event. And since most events run once a year, skipping a year would be devastating and most likely would put them under. That's like having a restaurant that's running the whole year, having staff, paying rent, but there's no way for them to recoup because they're not letting anybody in. That would definitely not survive. The good thing is, PAX was very strict about their health and safety policy. In order to enter the event, you need to have a black wristband like this one, and you can only get this after you verify you have a negative COVID result or a proof of vaccinations. And you need to wear your face mask and your badge to the event at all time, along with this wristband. Normally, after conventions, I would have a bunch of wristbands on my arm after events or parties, but this year I only have this PAX and also this one from Sonic Boombox. Speaking of after events and parties, all of them were really good about checking people, making sure they have a wristband or a proof of vaccinations or negative test results before letting anyone enter into their premise. Now, the event itself was very different. When I first walked in, the very first thing I noticed was the ceiling lights that were all turned on, and that is not common on the 4th floor at all. Wow, this just continues to be super empty. And like, why is it so bright? Why is it so bright in here?
Yeah, you don't know moonlight
like,
and sun.
This is where usually, Razer might have their booth. And then a bunch more over here, and look, it is completely empty. Because most of the time, you have all these giant booths that have been running around that has really crazy stage lights or some really pretty RGB lights with giant booth setup. So having the ceiling light turn on was very jarring. It caught me off guard for a second. Not only that, the right side, once I enter, was a whole empty area, which is usually filled with giant booth also as well. I was so taken away from it that I instantly got a video of it and I posted on Twitter, and that also got a lot of attention. While the lack of attendee is expected, I think most people are also surprised by the fact that there were just no companies or big brands, giant booth there where they usually are, especially if they compare to 2019 PAX West or even any PAX that they have been to. But I totally get it, like it is really hard to organize to have an event, especially for many companies. It will be an out-of-state event. The lack of attendee is one problem, but the bigger problem is organizing staff to be at the booth, building the sets. It's not easy during COVID. They're all having the same trouble, struggling to figure out how to do it very safely and how much more expensive it will cost them. So it is not surprised that a lot of companies wanted to pull out from the event. The only big booth there was Bandai Namco, and that is like the one that everybody would know because almost every other companies there were indie or very small. It's kind of similar to like an EDM festival where everybody know where the main stage is, and Bandai Namco was the main stage at PAX West this year. What I also noticed is that a lot of booths around Bandai Namco were selling dice or card games. Some of the booths that would never be around Bandai Namco, they would be booths that on the 6th floor, which is usually cost a bit less. But it's not just the cost. Usually it's very hard to get a booth on the 4th floor because most companies were grandfathered in. It's not like a first come, first served basis. If you have a booth last year, then they offer you the booth again this year. But since this year, most of the company drop out, then all this booth from the 6th floor finally got a chance to move to the 4th floor where the main floor is. Not only you got all this booth coming from the 6th floor to the 4th floor, you also have booth that you have never seen before. One that I remember really well was the OtterBox booth, the one that the company sell cases, like strong cases for your smartphones. On top of having all this company you haven't seen before, there were also a bunch of empty spots. Next to OtterBox, usually there would be a bunch of booth around it. It was empty. It was just empty spots on the show floor. So now the 6th floor are mostly just for people to play board games. You can either rent them out or there's 1 or 2 companies that are selling them, and a giant area for Magic the Gathering. Super empty on the first day and the last day, but some people on Saturday and Sunday. You still got all these rooms that are scattered all over the convention center that you can play like console gaming, PC gaming, retro entertainment, and a bunch of other different events. There are even a few cosplayers roaming around every single day, but I'm not sure this PAX was worth it for people to pay over $200 for the whole weekend. It seems a little bit pricey, especially it really feels like a first-year conventions, a first-year local small gaming conventions. Overall, this PAX feels very different. Again, understandably. And I think it is one that I will remember for a while. Normally, I would be running around the event, talking to clients, having meetings all weekend. But this year, I think I finished walking around the show floor in about 30 minutes. That was kind of, disappointing. This year PAX, a very memorable year, kind of actually. I even got the pins that I would never do. I bought the official Penny Arcade pins to commemorate this year of an interesting special year. Anyway, I still had a great time seeing local friends or out-of-state friends this past weekend, but I'm hoping things will get back to normal soon, so then we can go back to conventions and have more memorable moments for better reasons. This is my PAX adventure during a pandemic.
I can't pretend it, can't pretend, oh no. Whoa. I can't pretend it, can't pretend it, don't feel right, no, don't feel right. I can't pretend it, I can't pretend it, don't feel, no, don't feel right. I can't pretend it, I can't pretend it, don't feel right. You say I'm out my mind, that I'm paranoid and full of jealousy, but I don't buy all your lies, 'cause your behavior's never changed and I can see. When you kiss me, when you hold me, I can feel your touch so cold. Try to fight it, can't deny it, now I know the flame has gone. If you were to leave me, I would be fine. You know I don't need you wasting my time. Try to fight it, can't deny it, 'cause this feeling's way too strong. So if I turn to leave, oh don't you question me. No, you ain't gonna play me twice. No, no. I gave you honesty, but you ain't done for me. I can't pretend it don't feel right. Twisted truth, deja vu. And I've been down this road 'cause we've been here before. I'd be a fool to see this through. If you ain't trying, I don't want this anymore. When you kiss me, when you hold me, I can feel your touch so cold. Try to fight it, can't deny it, now I know the flame has gone. If you were to leave me, I would be fine. You know I don't need you wasting my time. Try to pretend it, can't pretend it. Don't feel right, no, don't feel right.